The Evermore podcast is now sponsored by WFST Total Compliance. WFST provides fire safety requirements UK-wide to prepare you and your employees should the worst happen. Do what you do best and visit wfst.co.uk today. Enjoy the episode. Good evening, everyone. Welcome back to Evermore YouTube channel. It's Monday night, and me and Mark are asking the same question we do every Monday night. What's going on? I'll tell you what's going on, Mark. We have a man down. I am struggling with man flu and a buggered shoulder, but I've managed to pull myself on tonight. What's going on with you, bunny lad?
Somebody break out the Barocca and the paracetamol.
Oh, mate, I've had two already. I've had two Baroccas already today, man. I think that's the only thing that's kept me upright, to be honest with you. Struggling.
Yeah, well, I'm all right. I'm good today. So thank you very much.
I think it's the kids go back, you see, and then they end up passing. It's almost like Jacob Murphy before he became good, passes to you when you don't want it. That's what the kids do, to pass germs to you when you just don't want it, and then you end up getting ill the minute they go back to school, which is a bit of a bastard, man.
Well, I spent most of last week with a migraine, so there we go. That was my gift from the kids going back to school.
Falling to pieces, mate. Falling to pieces we are. But thankfully, Newcastle haven't been falling to pieces this week because they haven't been fucking playing. So, so that's been quite a breath of fresh air.
Every cloud.
Even though international football is the single most boring break there is. But we're going to talk about it as much as we possibly can. We've got loads to get stuck into tonight. Just before we do, a little reminder to you all, if you're new to the channel, just checking us out for the first time, hello to you. I will try to keep my man flu together so you can enjoy this first episode for you. I just won't breathe on you. But smash that button if you fancy subscribing. We're over 5,100 subs. Loads of room for you guys here. One live show every week like this, and then pop-up videos throughout the week like match previews, post-match reviews, and the odd rant from me here and there when I'm pissed off and I'm not dying of man flu and I can actually get my words out. So yeah, feel free to smash the button there. We have got a membership scheme as well, which we've just launched. So I think one or two of you have signed up already, which is great, but loads more room for you guys. If you fancy becoming a member, just click on that link, join. Mark's got loads of goodies there for you, and you'll have early access to videos and etc. And we are live tonight as always, so feel free to jump in the comments. BT was there early doors, always there early, BT. James Anderson, even to you too, mate. Ian Brownlee, good evening to you. Jack is in the house. Lee is saying 2 seconds. Your fish fingers and chips are about done. That is a late chippy, mate, isn't it? That's a late chippy, Mark.
It is. Fish finger sandwich.
Oh, fish finger sandwich. That's like drunk food though. When you come back from the booze, that's like an hour and a half's time, not 10 o'clock. You should still be getting that last pint down your throat, Lee. But I hope you enjoy it nonetheless. Kev's in the house. I'm nearly forgiving you, Kev, for your snooker player comment, but you're on thin ice with me, Bonnie lad. Toon TV, evening to you too, mate. Good to see you. Jules is in the house as well. So let's get stuck in then, Mark. First category we're going to talk about is international mags. So I suppose for England, our mags didn't really play, did they? Did Trippier even get on? I didn't even think I watched the game, mate.
No, I think the thinking is that he might play against Scotland tomorrow, but nobody played in the Ukraine game. So nice and
I don't think England played
easy night for them.
It really did them, mate.
It was shocking. I was so poor. Snooze fest is is all I'll say. That it was so boring. It's rare I don't watch. I think I've said before, I've not missed an England game for like 20 odd years. I missed one. Yeah. I think it was the San Marino game. But that was, I pretty much walked away from it. I was so bored. I just couldn't keep up. It was sending me to sleep. And it was just, there was no urgency from anyone. It was pure Southgate performance out of them. It was just awful.
Just absolute Joshua. It has to be said, though, there was a lot of controversy around some of the selections that Gareth Southgate chose. One being Harry Maguire. He didn't disappoint me, did he? He man-marked his own player out of the game, as you can see from this image here, which was the Ukrainian goal. There is many players out of position, but the cameras were transfixed on Slab Heed himself. Was he rugby tackling? Was it Marcus Guy to the ground? I think.
Mark Gay, yeah.
Mark Gay, sorry. What?
Oh,
I'm not being. He doesn't do himself any favors with shit like that, Mark. Does he really?
I mean,
on, let's be honest.
Yeah, ahead of my hands time. I give him his due. He tracked his runner, but then his runner moved, and he didn't, and he just kept going into gate, and there were many things wrong with that. I mean, Jordan Henderson being wildly out of position as a more defensive midfielder, what he's doing playing on the right hand side, more further forward of midfield, I have no idea. He can't cross the ball for Toffee. He was just ineffective. To be honest, I forgot he was there for an awful lot of the time. It was just awful, and the continued picking of Henderson and Maguire. I almost feel that the Henderson selection is to try and justify his help him justify his move.
Yeah.
The Maguire one is just sheer stubbornness from Southgate to kind of say to no, I'm the manager. I'm going to prove you all wrong. But I'm sorry, you sat there with Lewis Dunk on the bench, who's been in exceptional form really for Brighton for a couple of seasons, and Tomori, who's just won a title with AC Milan, is going to be playing Champions League football again with AC Milan, is playing in an AC Milan side that's playing pretty well, and yet you still pick Harry. Jeez, I want to.
It's crazy, to be fair. The only worry is if they bin Southgate too soon, will it come calling for a certain Edward Howe, which is the concern. You say he's forever getting linked to the job. But obviously England are playing Scotland tomorrow. A little bit more on England versus Scotland in a minute. But it was better for some of our international mags, particularly our Brazilian superstar, Bruno Guimaraes, and Joe Linton got a little bit of the action as well, as Brazil beat Bolivia 5-1. Bruno had an assist, I think, as well, but just a little bit of his stats mark he had. 57 touches, 49 out of 49 passes completed, so 100%. He had 2 key passes, 1 big chance created, 1 assist, and he won 4 out of 4 ground duels. And he looked quite Bruno-esque, didn't he? Really looked like he was really enjoying himself again, which is a good sign.
Yeah, he did. I mean, I named this that Bruno obviously back on form or finds form. Yeah, I thought you watch him play. It looked fun for him again. It looked like he was enjoying himself. Nice little twist that he came off for Joe Linton after 71 minutes, I think it was. But he gets his assist. It's a lovely little assist for him.
Through ball. He
didn't look like giving the ball away. That's what you want. You want to see him hitting that a little bit of form now and bring that back into the Premier League. But I think the one thing everybody gushes over the fact 49 of 49 passes, 4 of 4 ground duels. I think Bolivia are ranked 87th in the world, so read into that what you will. I mean, you can only play what's in front of you, but it's pretty much like Newcastle playing the League Two side, although we've seen in recent seasons
spoken like a true England supporter there, mate, who's used to beating San Marino 9-0. No wonder Kane broke that fucking record, playing against a bunch of guys working at Lidl. You know what I mean? There's a load of fucking bollocks about the second-rate teams that England have played over the years. But anyway, it was good to see.
Have you got against Liechtenstein and Lithuania over the years? Do I dare bring that up?
Yeah, but Scotland have been shit though, so that's our excuse. But that's our excuse. So, we've got George in the house. George, our member, it says, "Whoa, what the fuck? Slow on the draw tonight, lads. Good evening. Good evening to you too, George. Good to see you as always, buddy." There was a nice little international appearance for Alexander Isak too. Got himself a goal. Nice little header. I think was it 3-0. The one, I think. Was that right?
5. It was 5-0.
5.
Wow. Can we just also point out as well? Alexander Isak scored a goal from a cross from the byline.
There you go. How about that?
So, lesson there, Mickey. Get to the byline and put the ball in. It might just work once in a while.
Cross him the ball, Miggy. Maybe he will head the ball, but that's obviously there. That's providing that Miggy can cross with his exact his foot as well there. So yeah, George is saying he's very proud of his member. He must admit, yes, we're very proud of you clicking the button too, George. Loads of room for you guys if you fancy a bit of that. Smash that button and come and join us. But yeah, so it was a decent little run out, I think, for the lads at international break. Obviously, Trippier we'll see more action against Scotland tomorrow. Wilson might even get a little bit of a sniff as well against Scotland. So yeah, it's a shame that Pope didn't get selected, but I hope he's used this time to maybe sort himself out, maybe back in the training ground.
Yeah, I mean that's what we sort of touched on this, didn't we? You hope that this has been time given to try and get Pope's confidence back up again, because he looks a little bit rattled. But yeah, I think it's probably a good thing for him to have not been involved. Go and sit on. He will have sat on the bench. He won't have played either game. So it serves him no good being there, and he can be working with the rest of the guys back here. There were a couple of other notables as well. There was Fabian Schär played 90 minutes against Kosovo in a 2-2. I don't know if anybody else or anybody saw it. The challenge on Dubravka by Ronaldo. Anyone? Do we think that was a red card?
Filth, absolute fucking filthy. That he could have pulled it away easily, mate.
It wasn't nice. Not as bad as the Latvian lads challenge on. What was the Welsh lad's name that he literally kicked through his knee tonight and got a yellow card for? And if that's not a red card, I don't know.
But you watch every football match going, so if you don't know, I haven't got a fucking Scooby-Doo. There is another notable mention actually as well. It just slipped my mind for a second there, but senior debut for Yankuba Minta, and a goal as well. Helped himself to a goal. That kid looks really impressive, I must admit. I can't wait to see him back in Newcastle next season. He's flying, isn't he, mate?
Yeah, I think the early indications of form there are very promising, and it bodes well, doesn't it, that he's hit the ground running. So look, I know there's been the argument of, well, Newcastle have spent the summer trying to just improve the future, and that's fine. But he looks particularly special. So yeah, hopefully that's just a massive sign of things to come.
Yeah, comment there from Kev. Yeah, Miggy had a knock against Paraguay. Sadly, most of Newcastle fans took to Twitter to express the real sincere thoughts for Miggy should rest up for a long time to recover, which I think is a little bit harsh. Obviously, a question of Miggy's form, I suppose. But yeah, what's George is saying? Minter goes on the right, doesn't he? Bloody hell, what I wouldn't give to have him. Do you know what? I think it's a fair shout, George. I mean, if we knew he was going to be that good, I think if Eddie knew he was going to be that good, he probably would have kept him around, because he looks like a proper right winger. Just gets to the byline, cuts it back to a centre forward. He's got a goal in him as well, Mark. If he continues to have a great season at Feyenoord, I just cannot see any way this kid isn't coming back to the squad next season.
That's exactly what you want. You bring him in for the money you have. You send him out on loan to get some experience at a higher level than he was playing at. And you see what you've got in him, and the signs are that he would come back next season and be a part of the squad. Certainly, I think he's definitely showing signs that he could do that.
It's a good finish too. I'm just watching it again there. He was sharp as attack. A ball come in, he just jumped on it and put it in the back of the net, to be fair. So that kind of reaction you need, no hesitation. He was just straight there, wanting obviously get a goal, really, to be fair. So absolute class. But yeah, so it was good to see the lads obviously playing in international fixtures, but there has been some talk about our lads who didn't play in international fixtures, and it's quite fitting actually that the game tomorrow is England versus Scotland, albeit that's what you can't really call it a friendly. It's never a friendly, is it really? But it's 150th match. They're going to wear special commemorative tops and everything else as well. But a couple of our players have been kind of at the centre of the press conferences for former Newcastle assistant manager Steve Clarke. One's Elliot Anderson. And the other one is there's the podcast. Been a while since we've seen him. One's Elliot Anderson, and one's Harvey Barnes. So as it goes, Mark, obviously Elliot Anderson was with the Scotland squad, pulled out through injury. There's been lots of little murmurs, shall we say, in the press that Anderson's maybe having second thoughts. He's thinking of switching to England. Southgate's put a couple of cheeky lines out saying he's a player that we like. And then the other big one is apparently Harvey Barnes is seriously considering switching allegiances to play for Scotland. What's your thought on both of those, mate?
Yeah, I just think it was interesting. I mean, it's going to sound harsh on that. Is it a legitimate injury for Elliot Anderson that he's pulled out with, or is it because he's got sniff of Southgate's comments around him of being a player of interest? I think the saving grace for a lot of them is that Southgate won't be there for too much longer. He's going to be gone fairly soon. So these players may get a look in. for Barnes, it's one of those where there are so many wide options at the moment. I can't see him unless he has an absolutely outstanding season again. I can't see him forcing his way in there, but I could be proved wrong. But they would have a terrific career with, international career with Scotland. I think Scotland are building. And one thing they massively missed was a centre forward. They could find a proper centre forward. You think that the defenders that they've got some decent midfielders in there now with the likes of McGinn, if they could play Barnes and Elliott. And there's a couple more that are knocking around at the Newcastle squad that apparently have the potential to be called up by Scotland if they so wish. But they've definitely got the makings of something. Excuse the cat again. He's trying to wreck the place. They've got the makings of something, and they've been playing pretty well. And it wouldn't surprise if a couple of them did go that way, because at the moment they're just not going to get a look in under Southgate, because, as we know, he's just going to pick his favourites.
He's not even picking fucking Phil Foden, to be fair, who's outstanding. He's been superb in that City team since De Bruyne got injured. But I agree with you. It's not just because I am Scottish, as most of the viewers know. But if I was Elliot Anderson and I was Harvey Barnes, I'm exactly the same as you, Mark. I'd be thinking Scotland are getting to the point now where they're qualifying for tournaments. They're playing good football. There's a lot of decent players coming through. I mean, Gilmore looks like he's really found his feet again at Brighton. He was brilliant against us before the international break. McTominay's on real form for his country. He goes and finds himself a club where he's playing week in, week out. I think he'll be a really good player. And like you say, some good centre-half options there as well. McGinn's playing some great stuff as well. So, yeah, there's some really good footballers there. Yeah. I just wish Evan Ferguson was Scottish. That would be complete ending if that was the case. But sadly, he's only got eyes for Ireland, isn't he? He's only got those emerald eyes. But yeah, if Scotland could get themselves a decent centre-forward, they'd be cooking with gas, mate, really. If I was those two lads, I would 100% play for Scotland. I mean, Elliot Anderson, nowhere near. Elliot Anderson could have the best season for us. We can imagine he could score 12 goals and he still wouldn't get in that team. Look at Joe Willock last year. Look at Shaw Longstaff. They didn't get a sniff in that England side with Southgate there. So if Anderson thinks that he's going to get in there, I mean, you're right. Maybe when Southgate goes, he's either going to go before the tournament or after the tournament. I think the FA will keep him till after the tournament, and then he'll go after that, come rain or come shine or whatever it is, because the manager that they want probably won't be there.
Well, I think he's already said that he's going to walk away after the Euros anyway, hasn't he? So it's only a matter of time before we are looking for the next one. I mean, there's a lot of talk around Pep. Can we see Pep taking on that, in a year's time?
No chance.
I mean, my only worry about Pep and
Spain or Saudi Arabia, mate. I'm calling that right now for Pep.
Spain, yes, I absolutely can see that. My only trouble with taking on a manager like Pep is he doesn't get the amount of time to work with these players on the training field. He's not with them week in, week out. He only gets them for a few weeks a year. You're not going to instill the Pep Guardiola mentality and methods that you get at City, where he's with them all the time. So it might not work. I think we'd still be a step up. And I mean, anything's a step up from the way that we're playing, but it's one of those where, I kind of agree with you, Kevin. I just think he doesn't have the amount of time with the players, and I don't think he can take on that philosophy and pass that across to the players in such a short amount of time.
Yeah, I mean, Barnes is, what is he, 26 or something like that? I think so. He's his prime years are ahead of him now. And does he really want to? You look at players over the years who never played for England. I mean, forget the fact he was a shit manager. Steve Bruce was a great player, never got a sniff for England, even back in the day. Remember Kevin Nolan when he was scoring shitloads of goals for Bolton and for Newcastle? Didn't get a sniff, because he couldn't oust Gerrard, Lampard, Scholes, whoever it is now, out of that team. And Barnes and Anderson certainly would be the same. If Foden kind of get in that team, Anderson's got no fucking chance. I love the Jody Maradona, but he's not Phil Foden. Jesus H. Christ. You know what I mean? It's only when you get a player like Jude Bellingham that's that good, you cannot leave him out. But I mean, going back to Southgate for a minute there. I know this isn't an international football podcast. It is kind of in a way, but it's not. If you've got a potential midfield three that you can play of Declan Rice, Phil Foden, and Jude Bellingham in a qualified game, you fucking play it, mate. You play that three. You don't pay Jordan Henderson. Have him on the bench if you want him as part of the squad because you think he's a good guy or whatever. Or as Roy Keane said, what does he do? Card tricks? What does he do? If you just want him in the squad because you think he's a great guy for the squad, then have him on the bench. But you have to play that midfield three if you've got those three midfielders, Mark. And three of the best in the world right now.
I just don't understand going into a game where we absolutely are going to dominate the ball, and we did against Ukraine. And they used what little amount of time they had on the ball pretty well, but we controlled 90% of that game in a boring way, without actually being very threatening at all. But we're playing hampered in the fact that you've got, you're not utilising Maddison in the position that he's playing for his club. You're not utilising Foden, who's been in exceptional form for City so far. You've got Jordan Henderson, who's barely kicked the ball and playing in what's probably, you can almost say is worse than a training league because it's just the standard at the moment is just not there. He's playing out of position. He's not playing in that central role that he would be better. I could understand if you played a 4-2-3-1 and had Rice and Henderson playing together with three ahead of them. That would have made more sense. But to play him on the right-hand side of a midfield three is just ludicrous because he's not that player. He's not going to give you as much attacking output as somebody who is more used to playing there. You play somebody like Bellingham a little bit further forward, or you utilise those midfielders that are used to playing in those positions. But again, it comes down to just Southgate's dullness and the fact that he will refuse to do anything like that because it's all about not losing. It's not about going out and taking the game by the scruff of the neck and going out and winning. And yes, we have easy groups. Yes, the problem that we have at this level is that most of the qualifying games are awful because there just isn't the competition there unless you're drawn with an Italy, a Germany, a France, or somebody like that. But when you're that first seeded group, you're going to pull the teams that you're just going to walk over, and it does become dull. And I guess for a point, it becomes dull for the players as well. But you need a manager behind you that's going to pick the right players to play in the right position, do his homework. You know what Ukraine are going to do. You know they're going to sit back. You know they're going to try and contain you and then hit you on the break. And we didn't look like we were prepared for that at all.
Well, I mean, like I say, Southgate probably has seen his time up, mate. But speaking of managers that can set you up in the right way, that's a lovely little segue. I love a segue into our lovely manager who fucking hands off England, by the way. Great North Ed, yes, Eddie Howe. If you didn't know already, was the one at the Great North Run. He was kicking it all off, giving everybody high fives. Areas with Sir Brendan Cole, and obviously the organizer of the Great North Run. Mind you, who dressed Eddie Mark because it was roasting hot and he looked like he was going to a bloody funeral or a poetry gig or something. Must have been roasting that black jacket.
I said that to the missus, and it was like, what on earth is he doing wearing a dark top under a suit like that? It's just he must have been baking.
He must have.
But yeah,
he looked cool. He did look cool though. You got to give him that. He might have been hot.
Cool as a cucumber. Yeah, he just. But it's one of those things. It's such a high profile event, and to have somebody like that there is huge, and it just makes everybody it makes certain most people certainly happy. There were a few idiots, shall we say? We'll not bring the pictures up.
Well, no, we're not going to give them the satisfaction of putting the pictures up. You probably all saw that there was a couple of Mackhams who decided to give Eddie some jip when they went past. One of them who looked like Jack Colback with his ginger mop of hair running around, and then there's another one with a Sunderland shirt on who decided to stick his fingers up. Eddie just ignored him, to be fair, because that is the class act that he is. But really sad from the old SMBs, it really was. And listen, if you really want to get back at your rival fan base, right, be creative, like this Burnley fan. If anyone saw this on Twitter, which was absolutely fucking immense. So this guy, Matthew Stanger, is I think he's involved with Blackburn doing the media or something like that. He's saying, my sister went to her 40th birthday last night with a Blackburn Rovers kit, which was clearly made by a Burnley fan who put claret and blue ice in the middle. Regrettably, I have to respect it. That is how you play the game, Mackhams. Listen, don't stick your fingers at the manager. Be cerebral. Do it like that. So massive respect to them, Mark, for that.
Absolutely. But when I saw that, it's just brilliant. It's perfect. It's the best way to do it because it's hidden until you cut into it. It's completely hidden. You've got no idea it's coming, and then it's just there, and it's so subtle. It's just perfect, and that's exactly how you do it.
Yeah, and to be fair, sorry, Jules. Yeah, obviously I didn't mean Brendan Foster. I am ill, so I do apologise.
I didn't pick up on that at all.
Yeah, he isn't he the fucking tit who was in Strictly or Brendan Cole? Sorry about that, guys. So yeah, I'm glad you'll keep me right, Jules. Honestly, you're better than paracetamol. Thanks for that. I had 2 Barocas and too many paracetamols today to count, to be honest with you. So you're keeping me right. Keep me right. But yeah, that was a great bit of banter by the old Burnley fans, maybe. Yeah, there's just no need for it. I mean, I said that on Twitter as well. That's a day. I mean, we both done the Great North Run. It's an amazing experience. There's a togetherness. There's a there's a calmness. There's a vibe of it's about charity. It's about fun. It's about having a great day. And there's no room for that. I mean, if I'd been a Sunderland manager there, I wouldn't have stuck my fingers up at the Sunderland manager. Do you know what I mean? It's just, get a fucking life. Some of these people really need to learn how to park this rivalry shit in certain moments, Mark, don't they?
Yeah, I'm all for a bit of banter between clubs. The cake is one of them. But there's a time and a place, isn't there? And when an event like that, I just think it's just the wrong time to do it. I get it at a football ground, or anything like that is related to the football, but when that event is so keenly geared towards, on the day especially, because it was Mo Farah's last ever race as well. But it's all about the 50-odd thousand behind the elite guys that are raising money for charities. So look, it's just like I say, there's time and a place. It's such a childish thing to do, and it just sums them up completely.
It does. It really does sum them up. Just sad as fuck, really, aren't they? To be fair, and there was a couple of comments there. Actually, I meant to pull them up there before, Mark. But people were asking about Steve Harper. Obviously, shocking news about Steve Harper. Really took us all by surprise. And I think he is recovering now, guys. I think in hospital. I think he did tweet, didn't he, about thank you for the kind messages or something like that. And Shea Given replied in kind, which is great. They've got that close relationship. But yeah, just real surprise that by Steve Harper, Mark. Really rocked people out, didn't it?
Yeah, just awful. But God, if they've caught him properly and he's on the mend, that's really, really good news. So that's a happy note. And yeah, just when it's anything like that for somebody that's so young, it is a complete bolt out of the blue. So the fact that he's make a swift recovery is really, really good. On the flip side of positive note, bleep tests for George in the morning. No.
I don't miss them. I don't miss them. God, I remember the football coach used to make us run up the bloody steps down the coast, which is now is it the View? My God, I mean, he vomited, and I remember that. It was horrendous. Absolutely great.
I think my first experience of the bleep test was with the football coach when we must have been in middle school, and I nearly died at that point. And
surprised you didn't get injured. Was that before your injury craze?
That was before I started to go through my injury phase. This was early into my football career, but yeah, I remember the stairs. The stairs were horrendous. I've done that. They were hell. And being part of that run around at Long Sand as well, having to run up them, run along, back down, run up them.
That was grim, man. Absolutely good. Especially when you've been on holiday or something, you come back, you're just burping chips or something. That was Jesus Christ. Yeah, Ian said, fuck running in that heat. Well, it was hot for a bit, and then it turned into a fucking monsoon. I feel sorry for all these poor bastards that got stuck after the finishing line, and that road was closed and everything, apparently, mate, wasn't it? It looked horrendous. It looked like the end of days.
It's funny because the first year I did it, absolutely bucketed it down about half an hour after I finished as well. It wasn't like that, but I loved it because it totally cooled you down. But I mean, the fact that you've then got the metro that was off for an hour or so, and there was a half-mile queue for the ferry just to get across. There was a guy who put on a message on Twitter saying, or on Facebook, is there anybody that's got a boat or a canoe or anything they can bring across for us to get back across? I'll pay whatever, which I thought was quite ingenious. But it's one of those things. It's I mean, we were due it. I think we were absolutely due a bit of a thunderstorm yesterday, and it didn't disappoint.
No, I was watching the Gateshead bank by, I think we go by Gateshead Council buildings behind the bus station. It was just floods and floods and floods. And honestly, I was waiting for somebody to like canoe down it, like Deliverance or something like that. 3 guys in the canoe. That's what I was waiting for in the picture. It was unbelievable. I did see a great comment from was it Emil Franchek? He said, "Great stream for the match." He's quick. He's quick as that lad. I'll give him his due.
Clever.
Very good. Very good.
Clever.
But yeah, thankfully everybody must have got back in one piece there. So yeah, absolutely. Right, we'll get stuck in then, mate, to the next one. Right, what have we got there? A couple of more comments flying in. What was this here? Yeah, I think George is saying when you start those bleep tests, the nerves will stop. So thankfully, the only bleep tests we do now, George, are Mark's counting my F-bombs for one of my rants. Normally, I think it's only the bleep test that we do. What else we got here? Right, let's get stuck in then. So the next category then, Mark, the next category is we're celebrating, actually, mate. We are celebrating a milestone, 3 years of Wilson. Speaking of handsome devils, 3 years of Callum Wilson. So 3 years ago, we signed one Callum Wilson from Bournemouth, and what a signing he has been, mate. You've got some juicy stats there to pull up to show just how prolific Callum's been in a short period of time.
He's been all right, hasn't he? I mean, injury issues aside, and I know we questioned whether last season when he was out of form and sort of whether he would get back to anywhere near, and then he went and scored like 700 goals in April. But when you look at his comparison figures to other, and I've just realised I've spelt Carroll's name on this wrong. When you look at his comparisons, particularly his goals per 90 minutes, I mean, he is only below Andy Cole and Les Ferdinand. Above Barr, Shearer, Cisse, obviously Andy Carroll, and I stuck Scholler in there more for a bit of a giggle, but he's sort of well off. But he's he did score a fair amount of goals, so it would be fair to him there. But he's proved that if he plays and he's fit, he'll score goals. He proved that last season. I say he went through that run where he was out of form after the World Cup and then completely came good again. And would he end up with 18 for the season? Carol the tea lady. Yeah. Probably done a better, especially his second spell. She'd definitely have done a better job.
Jesus, yeah. Certainly got more chance of getting some cups than that fucking Andy Carroll. I'll tell you that.
But yeah, I mean, 50 goal contributions in 86 games, it's not a bad return. He sits with goals per game of 0.47, which sits under those players, including Barr and Shearer as well. But it's that goals per 90. So it's obviously against the number of minutes that he's played, he's only just behind Sir Les, and there's a way to go. I don't think anybody at the moment will get anywhere near Cole's record because that's just phenomenal. I guess there's an element of that. He did have the season in the first, what would have been? It would have been the second division at that point, first division at that point. I can't remember. It's the first season in the Premier League when he played in the division below.
And he had Beardsley next to him as well, by the way, who was unbelievable back then. He really was.
That's one I didn't actually include was Beardsley's figures, but then it was split across the 2 periods from the 80s and then when he came back as well. So
it's hard to call Beardsley a striker though, because he kind of just drifted in and out, didn't he? Really, he was attacking midfielder. He was a number 10. He was all over the place, really, wasn't he? But such a brilliant player, and I think he basically made Andy Cole's career.
Andy Carroll wishes he had Peter
Andy
Beardsley.
Carroll wishes he had a Beardsley next. I beg your pardon. He made Andy Cole's career. Great question. Yeah, Carol and Gail, Dwight's sister. Brilliant. Absolutely. That still reminds me of the game after the takeover, the Spurs game, when that stag do had the Gail Platt in the crowd was just the best thing ever, wasn't it? When she was bouncing around the Gallagher end. It was, when Wilson scored, I just saw her bouncing around, which was class. Brilliant question here from Ian McKenna. Which Newcastle player would finish the highest in the Great North Run? And I think somebody's answered it a couple of comments down, which is superb. Andrew DB, Gordon, 29 minutes. Flash Gordon by name, mate. Who do you think would win? Who would win?
Well,
do you know what? I actually think Sean Longstaff's got the engine, isn't he? He's got the lungs. Sean Longstaff might do all right.
Yeah, I think if you're going for anybody that's going to run this, you're talking Joe Linton, Sean Longstaff, those sort of players. I mean, Gordon's probably going to be one of them. You want ex Newcastle players that run a lot. There's Maxi. He used to like running up hills, didn't he? So, you know, he would have thought nothing running up the Felon by.
He never sticks to the script though. Maxi would be off in fucking Durham somewhere having a fucking latte or something. He'd take a wrong turn. He'd be dancing with women in a nightclub somewhere in Durham, I think, mate. I don't think he'd even finish the race, to be fair, Maxi. But it's a very good question. I think Willock, my money would be on Willock or Longstaff, I think. With the engines they've got, I think they would do really well.
Yeah, I think sort of long, sort of not too quick. He certainly will be a consistent runner in Longstaff. I think Willock will give you a little bit more speed on that run, but he's definitely got the engine in him. So I almost give it to. I think I'd give it to Joe. I think I'd give it to Willock over them.
Good segue for Joe Willock. He has put a post on, I think, his Instagram. I think he's over in Warmac climates, ramping up his training. He looks really fit. He was on the bike, I think it was, cranked up to the top levels, and he was really going for it. So, I mean, the sooner we get him back, the better, Mark, really, isn't it, Joe Willock? He's such a miss in this team, isn't he?
Yeah, we take. I mean, that 6-week setback is sort of huge, because when you want to get a little bit more energy in that midfield, and he definitely gives you it. And he's a big miss, and that partnership, especially, we've talked about it 1,000 times. I know others have done the same thing, but when you talk about that partnership down that left-hand side with Joe Linton and Willock being interchangeable and being able to swap, you know, between the attacking three and the midfield three, it's a big miss, because he's such a good player in those positions, and just that lack of that, not lack of intensity, but you lack a little bit of intensity with him not being there, because his drive was just to run constantly, and that burst of pace from midfield as well, that lacks, because Bruno and Sean and Joe Linton and tonight just don't have that same level of speed that he has to burst forward. So it's a huge miss. So the quicker you can get him back, the better.
I mean, the big question there, I think, for Tonali and Bruno again. Bruno's excelled playing for Brazil. Is that because Tonali's not there under his feet? Is that not to put a negative on it?
He plays more on a 2. So he's playing alongside a Casemiro, who's a much more defensively minded player. And is that a lesson a little bit to Eddie to go, well, is that the way forward to play as a 2? And can Tonali be that Casemiro style player in the Newcastle midfield and play the 4-2-3-1 effectively? And I don't know whether that's a bit of a lesson there, because he was allowed to roam from position. He found himself getting much further forward, getting into positions that allowed him to be much more creative. The positions that we're so used to him being in for Newcastle, he wasn't just purely defensively minded last season, or especially at the end of the season before, when we touched on it. Was it last week when I said, you know, I didn't want to kind of go down that route of suggesting somebody like Shelvey, but playing Shelvey in that midfield allowed Bruno to get forward and be getting goal scoring positions and be much more creative. And I think that's just lacked so far. And we're only 4 games in, but just when you lose a lot of Bruno's magic when you ask him to sit much more deeply, and he's such a good player in the final third. But if you can play in that position where it is a 2 and you can allow him to roam and get forward, and the other player will stick, and that's key. Because even last season, when he played in the centre of those three, if he went, Sean would stick, Joelinton would stick, then they would be that interchangeable. We just haven't seen that yet, but that will come. That will come. I'm absolutely sure of it.
Yeah, the fair comment there from Jules about Willock coming back. I think, to be fair, Jules, people have realised, and it's often the case with players, is you don't realise how much you miss them till they're not there. I think we had a bit of Longstaff last season.
Oh, huge.
And I think with Joe Willock, a lot of people have realised what Joe Willock's doing for the team now, and I think missing him in that whole midfield and front three equation is took a massive part of our game out, and I think getting him back, and even Eddie made reference to it as well, didn't he? So I'd like to think people aren't going to give him any shit, but it is football and it is fickle, so I wouldn't be surprised. But moving on to the next category, Mark, stack it up. There's been a bit of an announcement, hasn't there, about an impending fan zone that's due to be built outside the front of the stadium. I think you got some images of that bad boy there, mate. If you want to pull them up, just so we can talk through it. So these are the CGI rendered images, which have been no ends of a laugh on their social media, which will pull up some of the zoomed in images in a minute. But so this is the proposed fan zone, mate. Not many lager louts in there, and guys necking Jaegers or being sick on the corner. By the looks
it's all a bit quiet, isn't it? To be honest,
very quiet. Isn't it? I'm looking for Adam Pearson. Where is he? He must be hiding somewhere. Did they render him in?
That'll be the next one, but yeah, I mean, it looks smart. It looks like, because I mean, it doesn't look anything like what you can get to see with a full lot of match day fans in and stuff. But look, it's one of those things where you wonder what it actually will be like. Will it just get completely overrun by the guys going to the game? Obviously, in terms of you want something like where you've got that match day experience, but for those that can't get in the ground as well. But it does look like it'll be decent. And there's some belting pictures that have come up from this as well, that I know you stuck in the side somewhere.
We have. Let's have a look. Come on, get some of the zoomed in ones. Let's have a look. So there's this guy. People refer to him as computer generated. Oh shit! I left the oven on. I think I said this is the face you pull after Almiron's still playing after 10 games with no goals and no assists, and you look at the starting lineup on the big screen. So he's one of them, and I think the other one, which was why is Kieran Dyer there? Who is that girl he's talking to? Is he on match duties?
Yeah, it is uncannily like him, isn't it? It
really is, isn't
it? Good spot on that one. But no, it looks great. If it is going to look like that, I know there were a couple of questions around obviously having that. Does that then have issues in terms of extending the ground, or how long it's going to be? Does it get in the way or anything like that? So there were a couple of questions.
Mighty Win says it was good. He says it's like the box at Wembley, and he says it's good. So
absolutely, and you see that for some of the other stuff, and it's worked really, really well. So, but if it's done in the right way, definitely, it's going to be like Easy Street back in
Whitley Bay. My God, Cheesy Feet, as it was otherwise known to the locals, because it reeked of feet. That's a good point. Accessibility, Roger. Yeah, it's a really good point there. I haven't seen any ramps there or anything, mate. So it's a very good question. When you design these types of things as an architect, you've got to look at these things, But they were more interested in putting Kieran Dyer in by looks. So yes, it is too clean, 100%, George. No puke on hookers. Very nice, mate. Very nice. I'm not sure they'll be able to render them ones in. To be fair, they might be around the back on the other render, the render that you only get to see after 9 o'clock. That might be that one, mate. But yeah, so it'll be interesting. But I'm with you, Mark. I think it might be overrun by by the fans, is because the one good thing Newcastle fans do is they just ascend en masse, and I really do think that this is going to be the case with this one, mate, as well. I think there's just going to be a case of people if they think people are going to go who can't get into the game, I think they're going to struggle. I really do think they're going to struggle to get in, because I just think it'll be absolutely rammed with with match goers, really, mate.
Yeah, I mean, that's the argument. It takes away from some of the places around there as well that they be too happy. But then some of those were completely rammed at times, and you couldn't get a beer for love nor money in some of them. So you do think it will open things up a little bit. I do think, like I say, I think it looks great, and if it works brilliantly, then great. It's it's not a bad thing at all. Jules on here had left at the original stack.
Yeah. I'm sure they will do.
Yeah. Wheels are better on sticky fuzz. I'm not sure I would agree with that one, to be honest with you.
It's not really a big selling point, that, is it? Yeah, wheels are better on sticky fuzz. Yeah, don't worry. No spinning around in that one. But all right, man. Let's move on to the last category of the show that we always do, which is out of two. When we talk about things that aren't quite Newcastle United related, we've got some big ones in here, and the big one, well, the first one we're going to talk to is obviously off the back of a real tragedy, Mark, and it's this huge earthquake that happened in Morocco. I believe that the death toll is currently up at 2,862 or something, which is just absolutely awful. I think it was a 6.8 on the Richter scale or something like that. Just absolutely horrendous. And our thoughts go out to everybody who was affected in that, and anyone who's got relatives that are affected in that. It's absolutely horrendous. It really isn't. It's happening way too often. Whatever people's thoughts are on climate change, I mean, look at the weather. Jesus Christ, that these things never used to happen as frequently as they do. We're only just off the back of the Turkey one that sadly claimed the life of former Newcastle player Christian Atsu as well. But one nice story, I suppose, to come out of something so tragic is this story that we saw on Twitter, Mark. It was Cristiano Ronaldo. He gets a lot of shit, Ronaldo, from us in particular as well, for being a big crybaby. But this is a wonderful gesture. So he's made his hotel as a Pastana CR7 available to provide shelter to those affected in the earthquake in Morocco. Big respect for Ronaldo for that one, Mark.
Absolutely, fair play to him. But I mean, he does get an awful lot of grief from us, basically, because he is a petulant child. But like his heart's in the right place, I think, and he's done a good thing there. So absolutely fair play to him for that.
Yeah, as Ian says, yeah, fair play, absolutely. And Kev's right, Morocco ain't that far from us if you think about it. No,
it's really not. But I mean, it is so. And there were so many people that I saw stories of that had just gone on holiday and stuff. But no, I think it's an awful tragedy, and you just hope that it doesn't get too much worse for people. But yeah, don't want to be too doom and gloom.
No, absolutely. Is Gary saying there? No, we wanted to bring it up, Gary, because it wasn't out of
it
tune.
Was,
yeah, it was a good gesture by Ronaldo.
In terms of Ronaldo,
we obviously had to add a little bit of texture to it, mate. But moving on to the other story. Now, Paul Pogba. Now he was tested positive for being an utter shithouse a long time ago. But it looks like he's tested positive for something else now, Mark. And this could be the end of the most overrated player I've ever fucking seen in my life. Tell us a little bit what's happening with Pogba, as Souness would say. Pogba. What's happening with that tid?
Yeah, so he's been, he's been provisionally suspended because of an anti-doping offence. Italy's National Doping Tribunal has said that Pogba returned a test with elevated levels of testosterone after Juve's 3-0 win at Udinese in August. I mean, he's just... I mean, you refer to him completely as an Instagram footballer, and he's like the original Instagram player, isn't he? More concerned with his image there than he is about his football on the field. And he's just, I mean, he's an utter waste of space in that regard. I don't think he's ever been any sort of level other than playing for France. He was supposed to be like the best player in the world, wasn't he? And he showed signs that he could absolutely have bossed any game. Didn't matter who you were playing, who he was playing for or against. But he's just never happened. Certainly at club level, it's just never happened. For France, he's unbelievable. In fair play in that regard, but just, I mean, there were the rumours had gone around. Was it not summer just gone, but the summer before, about the potential of Newcastle United? You just thought, no, not a chance. I mean, if ever there was a player that would fail the no dickhead policy, he would fail spectacularly. So it's But this was on the back. Funny enough, that I'd read a story earlier on in the day that he'd sort of done an article. He had an interview with somebody where he said he was considering retiring because of like blackmail issues that had gone on in the past with his brother and organised gangs and stuff. And then this pops up to say that he's due potentially. I mean, it could lead to a 4-year ban for him. I think this might be goodbye and good riddance, really.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really feel sorry for him. In all fairness, mate, he's never endeared himself to me as a player. I think when he left Man United, I always stand by that statement that I said, if Ferguson doesn't get rid of good young players like that, there was obviously a problem with the attitude. I think even back then, so he sent him packing. He obviously went to Juve and did really well. Played some great football, and then that encouraged Manchester United to spend all that money to bring him back. But for the minute he come back, I just thought he completely underachieved and didn't deliver. When it mattered. I think that season he had with Zlatan. I think Zlatan pulled him out the shit most of the time. I think just by being Zlatan, really. I don't think he was. I think he showed up probably for about 6 games, and then he'd disappear for another 10. And then he would start giving it big licks about how his agent was talking to Real Madrid and all this other stuff, and you just think, fuck right off, just absolutely dreadful. But if I had told you a few years ago, in 2023, we could possibly see the retirement of Paul Pogba and Eden Hazard, you'd have laughed me out of the room.
What's happened just there? In this one, Kevin, how old is Pogba? I can't believe he's only 30. It feels like he's been around for so long. He's way, way beyond that. I mean, obviously Hazard he's just struggled with injuries, hasn't he? They properly ruined him over the last few years. So it's that is a shame for Hazard because he was an exceptional player. But Pogba, it's one of those where this has happened. I'm not overly bothered by the player because I'm not going to miss him at all. There are players that you would miss in regards if they're having to retire early or that things like this will happen. You go, well, it's a shame we're not going to see the talent that is anymore. I just won't. I mean, he's become irrelevant on a football field.
Yeah, you're not wrong. I mean, I was watching the Chelsea Legends highlights of the day against Bayern Munich, and Michael Essien scored and played, and I thought he looks in better nick than fucking Pogba does now. There's Essien, and he had a whole career full of injuries. So yeah, it doesn't. To me, I don't think he will be missed in the world of football. I really don't. I just think he become a really hated player, not because of his ability or his lack of ability, just his attitude, I think, really, mate. Which was just absolutely abysmal, really, in terms of the way he was. No respect, nothing like that, and it's just absolutely vile. But we'll move on from that wank pot, and we'll finish up with a couple of out of tunes. Speaking of Chelsea legends, I don't know if anyone saw this. There was an article going around that apparently John Terry is doing a one-man tour, and he's charging, get this, he's charging fans £100 per autograph and £500 a head to eat with him on his one-man tour. I did hear he'll give you 50% off if you bring your wife and she's fit, though. So I just thought that is fun. What is he doing? Who's paying that to sit with John Terry and eat food? Fuck right off, man. Who's paying that?
Peak John Terry. And he will be in full kit before anybody says anything. I was laughing about the fact that he joked that he was still good after his performance in the Legends game, that he was still good enough to play in the Premier League.
I thought he was. He looked quite good, to be fair.
And then you sent me that story, and I was no way. Honestly, It just. I mean, it's one of those things, isn't it, where you look at it, you go, I could kind of understand it if you were a struggling ex-footballer and you were out of work, you didn't have a particularly, financially secure career and things, but he's been paid handsomely. Is he working out in Saudi now?
Apparently supposed to be in final talks to manage a Saudi team. Trying to remember who it is actually.
And you're going to charge people £100 for a signature.
Maybe they're not paying for his flight ticket. He's got to get his own ticket, possibly. Maybe that's why he's trying to rack the cash up, mate.
Utterly ridiculous, man. It just, I mean, it sort of sums him up. It really does, to be fair. And I just, it's £100 for a signature, man. It's like, I always met off football talk. Is the lad that does the Ant and Deck show with them? I can't remember his name. The magician kid.
Oh, Stephen Mulhern. Stephen Mulhern.
Funny, but he's not. He charges people for
does he really?
For photographs when he works at Butlins or whatever it is, and you're just like, are you for real? You get paid handsomely off ITV and stuff. There's absolutely no way you're short of a couple of quid. That's just pure greed.
Well, in for a penny, in for a pound. That's what he does say on his old TV show, mate, isn't it?
But exactly.
It's Al Shabab FC is apparently who John Terry's in final talks with, mate. Al Shabab FC. So, he still wants all that money. I mean, more fool of people who pay it, I say, mate. Absolutely fucking
too right. Ridiculous. I mean, I'm sorry. If I went for an autograph from him and he went, that's £100, I went, see you later, mate. I'm not paying it. I'm not going to pay you that for you to sign an autograph on a bit of paper. I don't understand if you give me a shirt with it or something like that. I'd almost agree with you. But just for signing, nah, you're all right, mate. Thanks very much.
Nah, absolutely not. Absolutely not. And just one thing to finish on, one lovely bit of news as well, actually. I don't know if everybody saw this, but Prince William was down in Bournemouth in a pret-a-manger and pret-a-manger. How do you say it? Pret-a-manger or pret-a-manger? How do you say it?
I would say pret-a-manger.
I would say.
I've stolen their Wi-Fi a couple of times post-game when you've been on.
Now listen,
on your live post-game.
I'm supposed to say that in the pod. You know, I come and get us, man. Watch it careful. What you're doing. Those pret guys are everywhere.
Logging out line outside. It's not like I'm just.
You're never going to be able to do it, and outside of St James's Park, dialing ever again, you mate. But just I think Kev's beat me to it in the comments there. But it was a beautiful thing so Prince William was down there, and a guy reached over from the crowd, and he thought it was. I don't even think he thought it was Gaza. He thought it was like a Gaza lookalike, and then he was shocked, and he went, "Oh my God, it's actually you!" And he said, "What are you doing here?" And Gaza said, "I came down to see you." And the reason I want to talk about it is because Gaza just looks so well, mate. It's the best I've seen him for years.
Yeah, it's one of those that you want so badly for him to be okay, don't you? I mean, he just I know people have got problems with him and stuff, and that, and he's been a bit of a figure of fun for a while, but he's been in such a bad place, and you just desperately want him to be well. And to see him looking so good is a real positive sign, and I just hope he manages to stay in a good place.
Yeah, absolutely, mate. But that was great to see. And Prince William is very magnanimous with him as well. So fair play to him. But that's us all pretty much wrapped up, I think, Mark, for this week's What's Going On. I've made it through with my man flu. Apologies if I snotted or coughed all the way through it. Hopefully I'll be back to my best by the time we play Brentford at the weekend, and I'll do the post-match. I'll get rid of this sniffle by then, and hopefully Newcastle will blow out all the snots out of my face by getting 3 points.
Absolutely. Can I just pick up on some of these quick messages just before we go? If George, if this is true, that's insane. I absolutely love that. Once saw a kebab grab house in Bahrain run by a man called Al in Shira.
That's brilliant. That's nearly as good as Singsbury's or Morris Sings up in is it West Allotment or something? Morris Sings,
Morris Sings.
Well, I love a play on words.
The guy that run it, he did have it as Singsbury's, but was made to change it because Sainsbury's complained, so he's now Morris Sings. Which is just brilliant. Just well done to you.
Honestly,
I mean, he's hardly a threat to them, is he?
Exactly. As James says, a heart of gold, guys. He used to dispense 50 notes all over Dunstan. What a dude, absolutely, mate. And a national treasure, really, whatever you want to say about him. Absolutely brilliant. And the best footballer that's ever came out of Newcastle, hands down. Got to be said. But right, that's us all done for this week's What's Going On, everybody. Thank you. Unless Mark's got anything else to throw in there.
That was it. It was just, I just spotted that, so sorry about that.
I told you I'm not well. You throw me all over the place. But thank you very much to everyone who's tuned in tonight. No chance I'm singing you out tonight, Gary, with my voice, mate. I'll sound like the killer from Scream. You'll have nightmares if I try and do that, mate. So.
If you do want any singing, go back and which video was it you sang in the other day?
It was Bruno, I think it was.
The Bruno one about the
Magic.
Bruno no-go. Yeah, go back and watch that one. You'll get Chris singing. You will not get me singing.
My edited version of the Bruno's Magic Hat song, which just for you, Jürgen, just for you. So, but yeah, so we're all done. Thank you so much for all the comments. It always helps the episode. Flo, as I mentioned at the start, if you haven't subscribed, consider subscribing. Like the video too, it really helps the channel grow. And if you fancy joining George and becoming a member, it's open for you. Click the join, guys. It's only $1.99 a month. We've got loads of extra goodies and stuff for you in there in terms of early access to shows and everything else as well. Thank you so much there, James. Yes, I hope I do feel better soon, mate. I'm chinning that many Barocas. I might be orange next time you see me on the post-match, mate, I think, just to try and get myself right. But we will be back with a match preview and post-match because Brentford at the weekend, Mark, huge game. Newcastle need to get back to winning ways. And have a great night, everyone. We'll catch you later.
Take care, guys.